Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Henrik86, Liam Ledrick, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'll raise the mic on whoever is in Discord and G+, and you can listen to their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Oh, I forgot you guys.
We were just curious when yesterday's Uncut and After show would be up.
Oh, it comes out on Sunday?
Saturday.
No.
Sunday.
Yesterday's. Yes, you're right. Saturday. Comes out tomorrow. Or for those of you
I
watching
know
this.
it's one of those days.
For those of you watching this, yesterday.
Yeah. Because this is coming out Sunday.
This will come out Sunday. Thursday show comes out. So what I've decided to do is there'll be members only chat on a Thursday and Friday in the live show. Yep. And then those two shows will go out Saturday and Sunday on the second channel. But if you remember, you get them immediately. That's basically how it works.
So Neil, leave the housekeeping question and grab the cannoli.
Leave the housekeeping question. Take the cannoli.
Take the cannoli.
No, but it was funny because you should have seen the answers they gave me for the gas pressure out of container. Oh, it was hysterical.
What did they say? Not that we haven't heard it before, but
yeah, it's up to you. There was a whole diatribe of stuff, but I was laughing. But,
I was going late into the evening for me last night with one of Nathan's videos on the chat, and this guy kept coming on. So I went to bed finally, and I woke up this morning. He said that I was deflecting, and so I called. Yeah, so I called him on it, and he was projecting his deflection on me because he was deflecting. They're so funny.
Was it a 15-degree an hour deflect?
No, it was to a question, and he stated that you can measure there's curvature, and I said, "You mean calculate, not measure?" And so he goes, "No, I mean measure." And I said, "Then show it, post it." And he just deflected. He wouldn't do it. He kept saying, "Well, I asked Nathan to come out on the meeting, and Sleeping Warrior backed out." I go, "That's fine. Just show. You said everyone can do it," which he did in his text. And I said, "Then just show it. If everyone can do it, why do you need Nathan or Sleeping Warrior to come out?" Basically, that's a logical inference, obviously. So just show it. Then he won't show it. So he says, "I'm deflecting," after I asked him to show what he said everyone can do, which he won't show.
Joke.
No, they're all jokes. They're just wasting. My thumb's tired.
Hey, Nathan, we came up with a good scheme. We came up with a good, I think they asked Adam Meekin if he could do something when you ended the show yesterday with what's his name, Ed Freeze.
Okay.
He's like the white. It was my idea. I was like, Ed Freeze is like the Wile E. Coyote in the Roadrunner. He's always trying to catch Nathan in these things, and then he winds up falling into his own traps. So it was funny. And then they were like, "Adam, you could do something with this." So don't be surprised if Adam Meekin comes up with a Roadrunner and a Wile E. Coyote.
Well, just remember, if anybody gets a package from Acme, don't open it up.
That's what Chalkin said. He goes with that Acme sign. I was like, yeah, every time we rolled the box and it had Acme on it.
Acme Science.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good laugh. But you know something? This guy brings that like we never heard that before. I heard that like immediately. Somebody tried to tell me Nathan knows that he's just deceiving you. He's in it for the money. And in my mind, I'm like saying, in it for the money, then he would be a glober if he's in it for the money. That's number one.
He is in it for the money. There's
No.
nothing
You
wrong
know what I'm
with
saying.
it.
Listen, I understand that, but the way they're saying it,
Yeah,
like
but
he's
when you
deceiving everybody. I'm like, deceiving?
hang on. Every business owner who puts out a good product is in it for the money. And
Dude, I know. I want him to make as much as he can. Are you
let me
kidding me?
finish. Let me finish. And it relates to your product being good.
Right. But that's
So
not what they're saying.
I don't care what they're saying. What's the product Nathan Show puts out? What's the product?
Oh,
Flat
God.
Earth debate.
Right.
Flat Earth debate. We're
But that's
debating.
listen, a man is anything he does, he's worthy of pay.
Neil, follow my thought for a minute. Then
Okay, I'll
critique it.
play your game.
Thank you.
He puts out a flat Earth debate show. You're ruining my thing, though. So go ahead. You do your thing first.
Okay, thank you. So you put out a product and no one buys it. You'll go broke because your product nobody wants. You put out another product, people come and start buying your product. Not everybody, but some people. If your product's really good, a lot of people buy it, and still some people will never buy it just due to personal taste. Now, what does Nathan show compared to a business model like that? He has a YouTube channel which he started to make money because he's a YouTuber first. He chose a subject called Flat Earth, which he thinks will never end in its interest. So he goes into it. And he knows he can make more money if he took the opposite side and had a baller show. But he's sticking to his guns as to what he actually believes in. And there are people buying his product, you, me, others. We come in thinking for ourselves and say, yeah, this argument makes sense. And then we start using it against people ourselves, and we see the wins stacking up, and we see that they're deflecting. We see all the fallacies that come out from the ballers. So the product is worth the money, meaning super chats or whatever anybody wants to give.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, though. They're talking about a whole different thing.
I don't care what they're talking about.
Like he's deceived. So anyway, my point was this. If he wanted to make a ton of money, he'd be on the globe side. That's number one. When that whole tape was first, whatever you want to call it, recording was first brought to my attention, and then I heard Nathan explain it because I brought it up one time before, and he was telling me him and Sleeping Warrior were having a conversation, and the way it came out was that they would say it's a perfect globe proof. So it's either number one, he's the greatest freaking actor in the world. De Niro has nothing on him, or he believes and he's passionate, and I learned from this. So, it makes no sense. But Ed comes in like he's got a diamond in the rough, like we've never heard this before, and it's just hilarious to me.
Yeah, but why would Ed come in with that if the Earth was a globe?
I don't know.
No,
he didn't have proof of that.
No, I'm serious. He would just come in with the globe proof. He wouldn't come in with that. He would come in.
Well, he can't. He has no globe proof.
That's why he came in with that. Because he took it out of context.
Glorified ad hominem attack.
Yeah, that's what it was. Ad hominem attack. Yeah.
Anywho, hey Nathan, I posted some pictures in Master B on the latest Hubble. Can you go to it?
I'm on it.
All right. So the first one says NASA's Hubble telescope has discovered what is being called the Greater Pumpkin galaxy pair located 120, and I can't finish my writing here on my slide, but light years away, I believe it says. So just in time for this Halloween, the pumpkin stars, right? So go to the next one. The faint blush smile is due to a newly formed star cluster, and the glowing eyes are concentrations of stars around it. Notice this picture with the stars. Next one, NASA posted another spooky photo that was out of this world. I couldn't say it better than that. The sun glowing with a pumpkin face, the haunting. Notice they're having fun with the theme of the Halloween. And then they have this video. I said, oh, a video. I can't wait to see this video. So I played the video and see that little square box with the blue background and that line at the upper left. So the video plays, and it just, that line gets bigger and bigger. It's not an actual video. It's just it's a video of a line in a square box. And then you got the last one there. And it's pretty comical that it's all CGI and they never took a picture from the Hubble.
Well, you know
There
what
you
the
go.
Hubble is, right?
There you go, Globetards. Keep believing in it.
Cool.
What does that guy say the Hubble is?
Sophia.
Pisano?
Sophia.
Sophia, yeah.
Yeah, the claim that the pictures that come from Hubble are automatically fake because Hubble is claimed to be, in a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum. Therefore, any claim of an image from Hubble is fake. Does that mean the image haven't been taken? No, that doesn't mean the images aren't necessarily real. After a bit of adaptation, even. I'm even happy to accept that. You know, the Pillars of Creation, for example. Wonderful picture. I appreciate that it's had some jiggery-pokery to achieve that look. But it doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean that's not something you could look at in the sky. But is it in a sky vacuum? Was it taken by Hubble? No. Because there is no sky vacuum.
Violation. So I got kicked out of NASA chat yesterday, Nathan, because they couldn't answer the housekeeping questions. They got up to the third.
They didn't have space for you, Neil?
No, no space. But you know what? It was kind of funny because the first guy that was chatting with me, his name was Neil. So I'm like, it was funny because the images they were showing. So I come in and say, wow, funny. So he's like, what's so funny, Neil? I'm like, you're showing me pictures of something that can't be. It's fake. Space is not real like they tell us. So we get into this whole back and forth. And I think about in the third one, they were like, oh no, do we have a flat earther? I was like, no, I don't know what the nature of Earth is, but I know what it's not. I know it's not a sphere floating in a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
Good answer.
So they were like, okay, it's time to launch you. They said something in the text where we're launching you to level 3, and I was gone.
Jettisoned you out of there.
Yeah, I thought that was hysterical.
Oh, that's funny, Neil. Well, these are people who claim to have science in their back pocket, but they violate natural law easily.
Yeah. So many people, though, like, because it wasn't like a Discord like ours where you can get on. I guess they take one call at a time, but the chat was there. So the people talking, I guess, wherever they're working and whatever launching that they did, they're talking about experiments, and I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, well, how could so many people be deceived?
Easy.
Yeah, then I got into it with my son again last night. We haven't been for a while, but he freaking pushes me with the 2 points in the sky nonsense.
What 2 points in the sky nonsense?
Yeah.
If the Earth is a sphere, then you'll see a point in the sky in the northern hemisphere and a point in the sky in the southern hemisphere, which the stars will rotate about. So what Neil's son does is affirms the consequent and begs the question. He assumes antipodal positioning when you travel south. Then he begs the question with his affirming the consequent. If the Earth is a sphere, we will see antipodal star rotation in the southern hemisphere. We do see antipodal star rotation in the southern hemisphere. Therefore, Earth is my begging the question fallacy I asserted at the first part of my statement. That's what he does, right, Neil?
Correct, but he says he's not doing that. I said, Jacob, you are. You're putting yourself on a ball, and you're saying you can only see it from the ball. Why can't I see it from a flat surface? And I'm not going to go on this ball with you.
Yeah,
And told me that. I said, you're affirming the consequence.
The assumption
No,
that the
I'm
guy
not
in the
gonna go there
south...
with you.
It's the assumption that the guy in the south is hanging off the bottom of a ball, and that when you're travelling to that location, you're travelling antipodal from where you began. That's the assumption. So that's the thing you're supposed to be proving, not assuming that that's what you do when you travel to a different spot. Well, I assume I'm just on the bottom of the ball now.
Yeah, he said something. He wasn't saying it. Then he said something about a 360-degree. I forgot what. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was. I said, "You're saying it right there. You're saying it's a ball right there.
Yeah,
not
but
You're
the
saying the
360.
center of."
He's not quite too old to put up for adoption, is he?
That's funny. Well, what they do is they take everything and take it to the presupposed sphere to the center. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they draw a straight line right through the surface, right down to the center. Now, they also do it from the center out to the sky. And this is how they get their right angles or their
Right.
protractor readings. Now, here's their problem. That works on the flat plane because you need the baseline, which is the horizon with a sextant. That's 0. And you can get your angles of the luminaries with a sextant. You don't need to go into a presupposed globe to the center. You can just do it right off the surface because all you need is a baseline. And when the two straight lines meet and do not pass after that, that's called the vertex. And everything in between that is your angle. So the sextant proves that we live on the flat plane and you can get angles to the luminaries to know where you are anywhere in the world by using that right angle instrument.
That's what he said to me. He said, he said with the, he said, I'll bring that up to him. But he said that, he goes, I'm not putting ourselves in a sphere. The bottom line is this cannot happen on a flat plane. I said, it is happening on a flat plane. What are you talking about?
The sextant works on the flat plane.
No, I'm talking about the star thing. One in the north and one in the south. They said it's happening on a flat plane.
Well, he's correct.
We're on a flat Earth.
No. He's correct in his paradigm, right? Because his paradigm is to automatically assume the Earth is a sphere anyway. So when I assume Earth is a sphere and I travel antipodal from where I began and observe stars in the southern hemisphere, and then you declare with that in mind that that can't happen on a flat Earth, it's like, what? Your assumption that your antipodal can't work on a flat Earth? No, it can't. That's right. But in that statement, him declaring it can't work on a flat plane, is him saying, I mandatorily dictate that this takes place on a sphere. Therefore can't work on a flat plane because I assume I'm antipodal when I make the second measurement. So, yeah, he's kind of right. He's begging the question doesn't work on a flat plane because he's assumed a sphere.
Right. So let me add to this, if I may. When he does that next time, you say, great. So if you're begging the question validates itself in reality, then there should be a radius and a curvature, Earth curve, at 1 foot observer height, 1.22 miles. That would be a secondary proof that you're actually on the right track with your sphere and your antipodal. But when we go to find the radius that you say the Earth is in its presupposition of a sphere, we can't find Earth curvature, and the people saying what you're saying say you can never see it. Well, if we live on the sphere, how can you never see the curvature? So it's dead right there.
Yep. Black swan, baby. That's where their argument dies.
Are we looking at a black swan now?
No, that's the image that was on screen, and it's just a close-up of the seals on the little buoy that's between the two oil rigs. But it's like, obviously, that's close up, right? You can see all the detail. You can see his whiskers. You know what I mean?
But I see the horizon behind it.
Yeah, but that's based on your calculation at the shore of 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, giving you the geometric claim to be horizon that's physical. Well, if you're right up against something and you happen to have something in the near foreground and the horizon behind it, that doesn't automatically make it a black swan. It's only a black swan if it's beyond the geometric claim to be physical horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet.
Right. So from a 6-foot observer, it can't be no more than 1.22 miles.
No, 1 foot observer. 6 foot would put it out about 3 miles.
If you're 6 foot, what's the most it could be? If you're a 6-foot person, 3 miles?
Yeah, something
That's
like
what they say.
Yeah, about that.
It doesn't vet out. So when anyone wants to say stars and everything antipodal, I'll say, well, we're talking about the sky. We're not talking about the Earth there. Let's talk about the Earth. If you say that there is an antipodal, the surface of the Earth would be a ball then. Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. What's the radius? 3959. Great. At different elevations, are we going to know the Earth curve, the edge, the horizon? Yes. Okay, let's do it. Black swan, baby. It's over. It's not there.
Yeah, the black swan kills everything.
No, it's over. It's so quick.
It's a quick kill. Luca Brasi.
Yeah, you can't say you're on the sphere when you can't show curvature ever. And then when you say, how'd you get it? You say, well, we never saw it to give it to you in the first. So we're going to base everything on something we never saw.
Yeah, I heard that replay of it yesterday with Rumpus shouting, "Not on the black swan!" Thank you, Rumpus.
And the third killer point is water doesn't curve. Water finds its level. But good luck.
Oh, they have some things. My son's always showing me how they bend water in this little lab.
In a container with electrical charges or something, right?
Yeah, I'm like, son. You're better off telling me a raindrop is a sphere than showing me this. We're talking about the size of Earth, the size of the oceans, and you're telling me that wraps around the ball and stays there. Come on, think.
We're talking about being at the ocean and looking with your own eyes.
Right, that's my other thing.
Empirically,
Like,
seeing the horizontal is a horizontal. It's not curved.
right. You can go up in a plane and drive over a body of water, and it doesn't bend.
120,000-foot weather balloon, flat. When is this bend ever going to start for them?
What bend? The only bend they assert
That's
from
what I'm
those
saying.
altitudes is the geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon being bent. So they're pointing at a physical reification of their mathematics, the horizon, saying it's an Earth curve edge, and then claiming how much it should or shouldn't bend. And then they like to get into arguments with flat earthers, where flat earthers say it's flat. What, the physically reified horizon? It's just it's a non-physical location. Who cares if it's bent or not? It's not a physical Earth curve edge. But that's all they assert from altitude. They're talking about the horizon when they say it's flat or curved.
No, I know, but they don't. They have to have it be physical when it's always apparent.
Yeah, but my point is that it's that needs highlighting, the reification of a physical sphere edge in the horizon, as opposed to, at an altitude, it may or may not be bent. It's meaningless. It's a non-physical location.
Correct. Look, I had a boat. I would go out straight for miles, and it just kept moving away from me.
You never got there, eh?
I could never get there.
Yeah, you can't reach a diffraction limit. It's the point where things are getting too small to see, where there's a limited angle. How can you get to it? When you get closer to it, the angle that you've moved into is then wider for the position you were formerly looking at if you gave it a geometric or physical spot in the sea, for instance. So if you put a marker or got your mate to say, right, stick a marker at the diffraction limit where I can't see anything anymore, I'll then sail out to it. What'll happen? Well, as you get closer, your angle will increase to it, so you'll reach it and the horizon will have just moved past it. It's absurd.
Happened all the time with different buoys that were set for the shipping channels where the big ships would go to, where we'd have to be careful crossing those channels. So they had buoys and all kinds of stuff. Even lobster traps with their markers. I mean, on days you couldn't see until you got there, much closer. I mean, how are you
so it's optics, right?
Absolutely. How are you going to see a little bobber on the surface of the ocean marking a lobster trap from a far distance? You're not, because it's too close to the deck.
I'll tell you how. In the reification of the Earth curve mathematics, you turn the view side on, so you can now see the side of your own head in the diagram. You then put the target at whatever distance, it doesn't matter, just on the right-hand side of the page with you on the left-hand side of the page, and then you draw a single line between you and it. And go, there you go. In other words, you remove perspective by putting it in orthographic view. Therefore, the line between the two things can have any value put on it, whatever you like. 1,000 miles? Who cares? Still got one line between the two, therefore visible, right? And the value for the item you're targeting has a feet and inches or meters value, which you can keep the same. So it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 miles or 10,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles. The item is still going to be a 6-foot buoy. Therefore, doesn't change with distance, right? Still 6 foot at 1,000,000 miles. That's how they've done it. They've removed perspective. Well, in fact, they haven't removed it. They've hijacked it and called it Earth curve.
Indeed, that and every illustration from their side is the side-on view.
Yeah, so they can keep the target value exactly the same and therefore remove perspective. The target doesn't change in size. Where in reality, as things get further away, their angular size gets smaller. But they give it you in actual size so they don't have to adjust it with distance. Ergo, removing perspective and calling the effect of things getting too small, 2C, disappearing from bottom up at the most limited angle against the deck, they call that Earth curve, merely perspective.
Well, I could say amen to that.
Got some nerve hijacking it.
Hey, you know what, Neil, you're up early. Well, I'm up earlier than you. We enjoyed this topic. We enjoy totally undressing the hijacking. I enjoy having this knowledge. I enjoy talking to ballers who are normies. I almost enjoy talking to globetards, but not really, because they just ramble on and they never answer questions. But the point is, this topic is so... I'm glad Nathan picked this as his YouTube channel, because it will never end. It will never end. It's that exciting of a topic.
Well, the first two shows I watched, I really wasn't like... I don't know if I wasn't paying attention enough, or I think it was the third or fourth show. And I started like, wow, I got some really good points here. It's true. I never thought of it like that. Then when I heard the affirmative consequence formological fallacy, I was like, whoa, that's right. Then I was hooked, and I freaking like a junkie with this show. And the fights with my wife over it.
You junkie. We already got an Al junkie in Super Chat. You can't be a junkie.
My favourite bit of this was probably... I'll shout him out as well, because he's one of my Patreons, actually. Life is Short. Did you guys catch the 6-hour extravaganza originally broadcast on Ranty's channel? Did any of you guys catch that?
Yeah,
No.
I remember watching part of that, and when he reduced it to the much shorter version, I watched all of that.
Yeah, I condensed it quite considerably, or edited it right down into 3 shorter videos. And the time flew by when he was doing it, it really did just vanish. But he took the perspective that's never been taught in terms of our physical reality. Yeah, it's taught in art. That's it. But he explained it. Foreshortening, perspective, the lot. He just broke it all down in immense detail. It was months and months and months of work for Life is Short. And just like it is in this community, right? People just break out their information and just give it to you. And that's what he did. He just sat me and Ranty down and just went through it, every single bit of his research, detailed it with excellent diagrams to go alongside his explanations, and a verbal explanation. And the reason it was so long, actually, is because me and Ranty had a lot of questions, and we just kept on picking his brains. Well, how does this work? Well, how does that work? Well, what if this? What if that? Well, I'm getting to that bit in the later bit of the presentation. We'll come to that later. And all the interruptions made it about 6 hours. But the bottom line was he broke down how it all works, so that when somebody describes something, you can immediately, or I can, thanks to him, now picture what is actually happening. You lower your angle as you reduce in height. Well, that isn't something that it's not necessarily intuitive until someone breaks it down. Now it seems intuitive, and it's not like I'm some great mind of contemplating how perspective works. It's been broken down for me by people who've done the research. I haven't done it. Now I've understood it after having it explained to me by somebody far better educated in this subject than I, and that's Life is Short. So, it's a credit to the people in the community that they're prepared to go, how does this actually work? Let's figure it out. And then document it, diagram it, explain it, so that someone else like me can then debate about it. Epic. Big shout out to Life is Short.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, indeed. Big shout out to Life is Short.
What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, I think that's it, G+, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello. Happy Friday.
What's happening?
Happy Friday, or Sunday for the majority of people watching this.
Indeed. Can we check Discord and see if they're mic'd
Live.
up?
Wake. Hello, Discord. There's a couple of you need unmuting.
Mic check, mic check.
Yes, we hear you. Good to have you. Hey, Chocolate.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Right, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Not even from a diffraction limit.
Meep. What's going on?
No, neep.
Oh,
Roadrunner.
You're talking about Ed Freeze being Wile E. Coyote and constantly falling off the edge of a cliff and things, blowing himself up with Acme TNT.
Yes.
Yeah, Chocolate said he keeps receiving the Acme packages and opens them up.
And then, boom, black-faced coyote, and then he blinks twice, right?
Correct. He's constantly chasing the Roadrunner, which is Nathan Oakley.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, horizon formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from a diffraction limit.
The only evidence that could be would be the forced line experiment or setup or observation, right?
Right, the rectilineator. There's a mouthful of a word.
So every 50-year-old gets that.
No. The rectilineator is not what you think it is. Yeah, force the line. Yeah, absolutely. That would prove it either way. Not that it needs to be proven either way. If it was a sphere, it would have drop, and we don't. So, yeah, but you could prove it that way. Correct. Force the line.
Oh, sorry, guys. That just happened too fast even for me.
Interesting that the process, that force the line process, was taken on by concavers. I don't know if you're aware of this, but back in 2015, Stephen Christ and a whole bunch of other guys made a rectilineator. It was unsuccessful. I can't remember the reason why. But nevertheless, they took it on in the concave part of this debate, which we very rarely hear anything from. But there's a video called Gay Watch. You did hear me correctly, which kind of pokes fun at it, but shows some of the building process. I don't know where else to find something to recommend other than the video called Gay Watch, Gay Watch, a spin on obviously Baywatch, with them all in the sun building the rectilineator, and yeah, you get the idea. Any evidence?
Really named it that?
No, they didn't name it
Alrighty
that.
then.
No, Fanny Lancer, who takes the piss out of people, labelled it Gay Watch, and then had the Baywatch theme tune playing with them doing their stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's funny.
It was extremely amusing, I'm not going to lie. It was very, very funny. However, let's move on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Any reference frames for something like that?
Would that involve motion?
Anybody got reference frames?
Yeah, let's just get something clear for everyone who's maybe stuck in the old times of the old convoluted Coriolis argument. Earth turning is supposed to develop drift. Now, drift is things moving apart from one another. Not moving together, moving apart. That's what drifting is. And Earth is supposed to have drift, 15 degrees an hour of it, in a second reference frame. That's Earth, not our claim, your Globehead Fundy claim, as a sphere turning underneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour to cause them to drift away. That's what drift means. Not drift together. That's an absurd oxymoron. They drift apart, not drift together. So, all of you out there who are failing to understand the claim of the globe Earth, I will summarise it now. It is claimed Earth as a sphere by you, globe claimants, turns underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour for us on the ground spinning to observe it drift away at 15 degrees an hour. That's drifting apart, not drifting together. Just so we're all clear. Any evidence of stuff drifting away from us at 15 degrees an hour because Earth's turning underneath it?
Not because Earth's turning underneath it.
Real quick, Nathan, are we live?
We should be live.
It's members only, Chocolate.
Oh, is it because the chat's not moving along?
Yeah, but I don't even see. Maybe I'm
Yeah, we can't get your channel on YouTube.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll ask the next housekeeping question. I'll check it on YouTube while... any evidence or scientific evidence of gravity?
No. What is gravity?
Well, it's supposed to be a force that's not a force anymore, Chocolate.
A horse is a horse, of course, a force.
It's a effect now, right?
It's not a force, but you can think of it as a force.
Well, they
If you
told me
want.
on that channel yesterday in NASA that gravity was a force. And that's how come gas pressure is able to stay in the Earth's atmosphere, which I broke down atmosphere for them. I told them atmo means air, and gas takes no inherent shape. So how can we have a atmosphere?
Well, we're back to something that's been claimed to have been superseded and dead for 105 years, according to Einstein's theory, correct?
Nathan, are we going live?
He's
Just
checking
checking.
something.
Yeah, I think
Arvin.
I've got
We're
an
just-
issue. I'm just figuring it out. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you got
So
the
we're
same
talking.
issue as me.
I'll figure
What
it out.
issue
It's
do you
okay.
have, Arvin?
Well, I had issues yesterday, but
No, his channel's not showing up on YouTube for people to chat in or look at.
well, I'm on his channel right now, and
Oh, so you're on.
No, the channel.
It's done. It's done. We're live. It's all good. Don't worry. Just carry on. I'll move on.
Carry on with that.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
Nope.
nope.
Be interesting if someone in Discord has something. Any ballers?
Yeah, it's very difficult to actually devise an experiment involving a conceptual medium. You know, kind of difficult.
A mind experiment, then?
If
Well, you
anybody
can do
could do
mind
it, it's all.
experiments, but yeah, mind experiments don't really involve the scientific method, now does it? So
Correct.
How would
Okay.
you go about doing it, Alwyn?
well, I drop the conceptual medium and start to try and get real. But yeah, that would conflict with the entire tradition of the astronomers and all that.
But we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level, right, Arwen?
But I do actually want to do that.
No.
Silence, Legolas. You must work within our imaginary level in order for these things to work. Come on, man, catch up.
Yeah, they use that word a lot, chocolate, imagination, when they're talking about their worldview.
Yeah. I love George Booster because he uses the word magic a lot when describing gravity.
He did that day.
Yes, he did.
It was funny to see Craig squirm at all these things as George Booster was validating everything we were saying.
Yep. And that was a year ago or something like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a classic.
I got people like Veritasium coming out with videos called Why Gravity is Not a Force.
How dare he?
Eric.
Does it hurt because we're saying the same things that your own side is telling you? We're trying to keep you guys abreast of your own rhetoric. And then
Eric
you guys look at us like we're crazy. Oh my God, you flat earthers. And then here's your side. Like, hey, gravity's not a force. Like, what?
A top physicist, Eric Valinda, said you need to go on the rooftop and shout it out that it's not a force.
Well, thank you for giving us that permission.
Yeah, right.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for the distance to the sun.
I'd like to know what it is.
It's a light in the sky.
Oh, a light, rather light. It's light in the sky.
Yeah.
It's coming to us. We see it. It hits us. Is it coming from somewhere? I don't know. But it seems to hit us at least. And
it's coming from somewhere.
Bright spot, you know?
Coming from somewhere, we just don't know the distance to it.
I don't see a problem with a light because there are other lights. So a light works.
Yeah, but is it light, apparent light? Because light. If it's just light, then it leaves open because a light is usually an object that generates light. No, but I'm being pedantic here, I think.
My son told me it's made of plasma.
Right, there you go. Physical assumption bias. Physicality assumption bias. That's what that is. Because, hey, the only examples you can ever demonstrate to yourself are physical objects giving off light. So that's the only thing you really got as a comparison to the celestial lights. Very tough to imagine that those might be completely different in nature, entirely, as any light that we make here on Earth.
We're back to always doing this with this question. The question distinctly says distance to the sun, and we're always talking about the nature of it.
Yeah, but it's important because you have to know what it is to get a distance, right?
That's not the question. The question is, do we have a distance to it? So unless we change the question, what is the nature?
We said no.
There is no distance to the sun because in order to have a distance, you would have to have a location for an object. And
there's no way of knowing
if it's an object.
I don't think it is. It doesn't abide by laws of perspective and all that.
Indeed. It's intangible. Quick shout out to Evan5935 for joining as a penguin. Thank you very much indeed.
Yay.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hell no.
Only in the movies.
Right. But it seems that it only gets really addressed in movies where the entire Earth eventually blows up or something. Did you take notice of that?
Yeah, it's always catastrophic, right?
Right. I think that the molten iron core is kind of a catastrophic conception.
Oh,
but it does sound silly with the way you say it. Evidence of a molten iron core in the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. Sounds real silly.
Don't forget the self-perpetuating part.
Yeah.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Of course.
Here's Here's the necessary antecedent for a good argument.
I mean, you do not understand that the little molecules in the atmosphere are being pulled to the Earth. I mean, do you not understand that? It's very simple. Called gravity, just like the thing that pulls you down to the ground. Little molecules in the atmosphere are pulled down to the Earth as well. Very, very simple.
Gas expands in all directions.
Yeah, but it's got a force acting on it to stop it doing that.
Gravity's not a force. George Musa.
Oh, yes, it is. What do you think? No, Musa said just after that you also have to treat it as a force because gravity is an umbrella term for several things, one of which is the force in our 3D world.
Fascinating. Hold on,
but
guys, can this not be constantly interrupted? Hello? No, gas doesn't go down, go boom boom, like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank.
Just like you do.
No, I'm not gas.
Just like you do.
No, gas does not go down. Like bouncy balls. You're going to interrupt this 3 times in a row? Try again.
Okay, go ahead.
Gas does not go down, go boom boom, as asserted by a clown called Thunderfoot. By analogy, with bouncy balls poured into a fish tank, gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has. It does not just go down. It doesn't have an exclusively downward vector with this made-up force of gravity. It expands in all directions to fill the available volume.
Yeah, and just like a bouncy ball...
Sorry, yes! So yes! So you concede and then go on to talk about a bouncy ball, so yes!
So I missed what you started.
You started out by agreeing and then started talking about bouncy balls. So gas, unlike bouncy balls, expands in all directions. Then you said yes.
No, I misheard the start. Oh, let's just try to start again.
Okay, gas expands in all directions. It does not go down, go boom boom like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank.
Behave just like bouncy balls.
No, it doesn't. It expands in all directions. Balls poured through gas will go down. They're not gas. They have intermolecular bonds and do not behave like gas.
They do. They behave exactly like...
Who cares? Gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has to fill. This is a fact of life. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe, which is expanding in all directions, would expand into that area. That's how you calculate it, by way of its volume. Well, if the sky was a massive volume for gas to fill, gas would be filling it, and it's not going down like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank. Gas expands in all directions. It does not behave like bouncy balls.
Yes, it does.
No, it does not. Gas is unbonded and expands in all directions. Bouncy balls go down, go boom boom when you pour them. That's not how gas behaves. You are incorrect and a moron.
Let me get
stutter for me. Let me stutter for me. No. Gas does not behave like solids when poured through gas. Gas expands in all directions. And if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
Can I make just one point? Right. The point is, a bouncy ball, if you drop it from a tall building...
You couldn't give a shit. We're not talking about bouncy balls, you thick idiot. I don't care how bouncy balls behave. They are not gas, you stupid idiot.
They behave just like...
No, they are not gas. Don't tell me how gas behaves like solid. It's not solid, you idiot.
No, it's not solid. It's like...
So it's not like bouncy balls, which are solid then. So don't detail how one drops off a building. That's not how gas behaves, because it's not solid and bouncy balls are. Gas, on the other hand, expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume, and if the sky was a volume, the gas would fill it.
But it's got gravity acting it just like...
No, you're describing gravity as a downward vector as applicable to bouncy balls. We've covered this. You got pummeled by me. No, that's not what's happening when you compare gas to bouncy balls, because bouncy balls are solid, whereas gas expands in all directions.
That behaves exactly like bouncy balls.
No, it doesn't. Bouncy balls are solid. Are gases solid? No, they're not. That's correct. So not behaving like bouncy balls. Thunderfoot, who asserted that, is an abject clown. He demonstrated that gas, in his opinion, behaves like solids when poured into a fish tank. He's a moron. Like you. You think that bouncy balls are analogous to gas, and they're not.
One ball is analogous to one molecule.
Okay, let me try. Rumpus, let me try one time. Okay. What grants a molecule energy to move? A gas molecule, what grants it energy to move?
Gravity. and temperature. But the
Gravity, but
there
only
are
gravity.
two things that cause it to move: the temperature, in other words, the kinetic energy of the surrounding atoms, which have all been heated up by sunlight, etc., and gravity. There are two forces acting on the collision with other balls, other molecules, and the force of gravity. There are two things that are affecting any individual molecule.
Couldn't give a crap, that's a ball. We're talking about gas, which is not solid. How many times are you going to try and take this conversation down the same road as Thunderfoot and claim that gas is like solids and therefore goes down when poured? It doesn't. It expands in all directions to fill the volume. And if the sky was a vacuum, that would be a volume for the gas to fill. And we'd all be dead.
Are you denying that gas is made up of molecules? Are you denying that gas is made up of molecules, little balls?
Little balls? Little solid balls with intermolecular bonds? No, it's not behaving like solid, bonded, bouncy balls. Do the bouncy balls have intermolecular bonds?
Do you accept that...
Do the bouncy balls, like gas, have a lack of intermolecular bonds to make them comparable or not?
And then you can I just make...
Then you can stutter for me while you ignore my question, because my question annihilates your claim. Gas is not bonded.
Molecules.
Yeah, you're just talking through me, so I'm going to kick you out if you don't listen to my question.
Do you accept that gas...
Do you want to listen to my question, or do you want to keep asking me what I accept, when I've told you I don't accept that gas behaves like solids? And I'm asking, do these balls... I'm going to kick you out. Last chance. Do the balls have intermolecular bonds?
No, gas doesn't have intermolecular bonds.
Do the balls that you're comparing to gas have intermolecular bonds?
No, I'm comparing a molecule to a ball.
Stutter for me, you fundy bitch. Getting pummeled. So, bonded bouncy balls have intermolecular bonds, but gas does not.
So it's irrelevant that a ball is made up of stuff. We're talking about an individual ball being synonymous with an individual molecule.
It isn't, because an individual molecule of gas doesn't have any intermolecular bonds, and a bouncy ball does.
Correct.
That's right, so it's not comparable, because gas doesn't have any intermolecular bonds, and your solid, bonded, bouncy ball does, making it a completely different state. You are as stupid as Thunderfoot.
We treat the ball as one object, and we treat a molecule as one object.
I treat a molecule without intermolecular bonds as a gas. You treat a solid, bonded, bouncy ball as a gas, because you are moronic.
Do you accept...
Don't ask me what I accept. I don't accept that a solid bonded bouncy ball will defy gas law. Gas expands in all directions, and if outer space, as claimed to be a vacuum, was a volume for the gas we breathe to fill, then it would be filling it and we'd all be dead. Therefore, the sky is not a vacuum. Further to that, your assertion that gas behaves like solid bonded bouncy balls is not a demonstration of gas pressure without a container.
To answer my question?
You can suck my balls. You can get out my hangout now. I'm not answering anything. You keep telling me how gas is comparable to bouncy balls because you're a moron like Thunderfoot. And you are wrong. They are bonded when compared to your bonded balls, are they? No, gas is unbonded, therefore not comparable, therefore won't go down with an imaginary force that you're going to imply is holding gas to the surface of Earth because it behaves like solid bonded bouncy balls. No, both you and Thunderfoot are morons. Outer space is fake. Gas expands in all directions to fill the volume it has to fill. And if the sky was a vacuum, it would be a vast volume for gas to fill, and we would all be dead. Your assertion, parroted by Thunderfoot, is simply incorrect. Gas is not analogous to bouncy balls. Moving on. Any evidence of the R value?
Black Swan.
Shout out to Chris Berry for joining it, also as a penguin. Woo, 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 woo.
I've never seen 2,000 mile an hour bouncy balls moving around. Have you guys?
I've got bouncy balls in front of me. They're not moving at all. What he wants to do is argue about net force zero and gravity. Not about the fact that the sky is a volume for gas to fill, and gas doesn't go down. It expands in all directions to fill the volume. Nobody's looking at vacuum chambers with layers of gas at the bottom of it. If you release a gas into a vacuum chamber, it just fills the space equally. Well, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we all breathe would dissipate into it, and we wouldn't have any. We'd be at 10 to the minus 17 torr at sea level. And we're not. The sky is not a vacuum.
And if you really listen to him, he completely agreed with you when you showed him how his comparison was not comparative. And he said, correct. And then he just continued to try to do the same thing. Like, we didn't hear him just say correct. Like,
that's what they got
that
to
mind
do.
trick doesn't work anymore, guys.
Yeah, that's what they got to do. They've got to turn gas into solid to make it apply with gravity in a downward vector. And it hasn't got it. It's not applicable, and it's not a force. And if we calculate how much volume the gas has got to fill to calculate the pressure, we'd be at 10 to the minus 17 torr if the sky was a vacuum. But what do you know? We've got pressure, proving beyond all doubt that the sky is not a vacuum. Shout out to Pugsley Lovejoy, who also joined as a penguin. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Neil.
Go ahead.
How do we know the shape of gas molecules? Have we ever seen one?
I've not personally seen a gas molecule. I've seen demonstrations.
So why is he saying that they're little round balls?
Well, they might be, but they're unbonded. One solid bonded ball with lots of intermolecular bonds with lots of other little balls all attached together isn't analogous to them all flying around separately, expanding in all directions. That's the point.
Yeah, I know, but he said molecules around. They're little balls. I never seen a molecule.
Yeah, air's kind of hard to see. It's definitely there though, Neil, I promise.
Yeah, electron microscope, that's the only real way to notice any of that. But it's
pressure.
Very complicated.
Not at all. Pressure, we've got gas pressure. It's pressing.
No, the
I know we
seeing
do,
of
but I'm
the
saying
seeing
that we
of
see
the
it.
molecules, that's what I meant.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I know we have gas pressure.
Electron microscope, just check it out. It's fascinating what it even is. So, but it did give me some kind of insight on like this grid of balls, like spherical crystals, basically. That's what it showed.
I didn't know that.
It's nice to bring back up Thunderfoot, though, eh? He hasn't got mentioned. Thanks to Simon Dan, we almost forgot about him, didn't we? We rode him hard, put him away wet, and then forgot all about him. But yeah, gas don't go down, go boom boom. Does it, Thunderfoot? You abject clown.
So Rumpus tried to be his lawyer too, his greasy lawyer, to come in and tell us how bouncy balls work.
Yep.
As a gas.
Indeedy.
You guys might need a new lawyer.
The problem is with the downward vector only.
Yeah, they need it to assert that gas go down, go boom boom like bouncy balls when poured into a fish tank, as asserted by a moron clown called Thunderfoot.
So much for gravity.
I think that's it. I think we've covered
Well,
all
he
the
asked
questions. Go ahead.
Well, he asked, what's your obsession with intermolecular bonds? I would ask, what's your obsession with gravity?
My obsession with bonds, it's the description of the state. Weak bonds, liquid.
No, that's what
strong
that's what he
bonds,
asked.
solid. No bonds, gas. It's fundamental to the principle of each particular state. Why am I obsessed with it? Well, because we're specifically detailing gas behaviour, and you want to tell us how solids behave. And what's the difference? Well, the bonds.
Yeah, I think the last speaker was saying that's what Rumpus was asking.
Well, no, he was pointing more over that he's obsessed with a non-force force that he can give us a force called gravity, and then asking me why I'm obsessed with intermolecular bonds.
Didn't we bury gravity 105 years ago?
Well, one version, one incarnation of gravity. The Matrix was reloaded and it came back as the bending of a conceptual medium called spacetime.
Yeah, but we're supposed to be shouting from the rooftops, gravity's not a force. George Musher says you can think of it as one, but it's not. Why is Rumpus still hanging on to it like a child's toy?
Well, how does that work, the bending of space-time? Explain that to me.
It's just, you don't need to, it's not real. We're just talking about concepts in that regard, Neil. You don't need to concern yourself with it in the real world. It's not actually functional at the really is level. Talking about bending conceptual mediums, just descriptions of stuff that isn't real, places that aren't real.
Fake.
Yeah. Well, conceptual, not fake. That's conceptual. You can think about it.
I see.
Yeah, they need something to make gas stay here when they've got a sky vacuum in violation of natural law, and quote the rumpus, second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. And what he means by that is globe Earth, because their model of Earth can't have the second law of thermodynamics applying to it, because the gas would fill the space. And that's natural law, i.e. the law of what we actually experience in reality, as opposed to what functions on a heliocentric model of a globe Earth in a vacuum. The second law doesn't apply to that because it doesn't work. We'd have no gas to breathe if the sky was a vacuum, hence it isn't. It's just asserted to be that way in a model people reify.
So basically you're saying the gas law and the second law of thermodynamics debunks the heliocentric model.
I've got a new question to ask the ballers. Is the universe an open or closed or isolated system?
There are no isolated. Open or
that?
closed. There are no isolated systems in nature. There's no such thing.
I'm talking about the universe, the overall, like the system, the overall universe itself, not just. So, if the universe is an open system, or even if it's a closed system, and they say the second law doesn't apply, it only applies to isolated systems. So then they're saying that the second law doesn't apply to the universe.
Yeah, their sky universe vacuum, no, it doesn't apply. They govern it with mathematical rules, Einsteinian mechanics, non-real pseudo force space. So no, you're right. It can't apply. They claim that the lights in the sky we see are actually gases in a vacuum. Just preposterous nonsense.
But even if you argue it's plasma, you have the same problem because eventually the plasma will dissipate, right?
Can't have balls of gas not dissipating into vacuums. That's a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. What they claim the lights in the sky are violations of the second law of thermodynamics. That's what they claim they are. Simple. Some of them, again, what a shock, twice in one show. Thunderfoot even did it with a fundamentalist religious assertion attached to it. He merely pointed at his fundamentalist religious faith that they are gases in vacuums, not expanding, to declare that there is my fundy faith in a violation of natural law, proving my fundy faith in the natural law violation. Look, you can see lights in the sky, and I assume they're gases in a vacuum not expanding. Proving that they're gases in a vacuum not expanding, of course. Not me begging the question with my fundamentalist religious assertion that the sky is a vacuum and we've got burning balls of gas not expanding into it in line with natural law. That's not me begging the question. Yeah, it is. But that's what people like Thunderfoot do. They don't realise that they're religious zealots. And they'll literally point at what they think heaven is and describe it in violation of laws of nature as justification for proof of it. Idiots that beg the question, basically. That would be you, Thunderfoot. An idiot. Clearly the sky vacuum's obviously a bit of an issue at the moment for Rumpus to need to come in and discuss it.
I found something on gas.
You can't breathe.
I can. I'm all good.
No rumpus.
Can I read this on gas? It's real quick.
Go ahead, Neil.
According to Graham's law, the molecules of a gas are in rapid motion and the molecules themselves are small. The average distance between the molecules of a gas is large compared to the size of the molecules. As a consequence, gas molecules can move past each other easily and diffuse at relatively fast rates. It says nothing about going down.
Yeah, and what's diffusion? Spreading out to fill the space.
Nothing about down. So I don't know what they're talking about.
Diffusion's just a second law descriptor. Describing diffusion is to describe entropy. Yeah, good little snippet. The gas will fill the space, and if the sky vacuums a space, what do they call the sky vacuum? Oh, they call it space, don't they? So it's a space then for gas to fill. Well, it would fill it. That vast space they claim the sky is called space. A space for gas to fill. Yeah, we'd all be dead. It's not a vacuum. The sky being a vacuum is absurd. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, Jesse, Lily was trying to say something. I was wondering, does gravity stop diffusion? Like if I put a drop of like food coloring into water, does gravity stop the dye from spreading out to the whole class of water, or does it settle at the bottom?
I don't know. Depends on the density of that dye, but I would assume it would just dissipate throughout the liquid.
Right. So if it's fairly dense, it would probably drop to the bottom. But even if it's slightly different, let's say the density of the dye is slightly different, I mean, eventually it would still dissipate through the whole water if it was close, even if it was close.
Maybe, but yeah, I see what you're saying. If you dropped a little drop of dye, you'd see it drop to the bottom if it was fairly dense. But if you came back 3 weeks later, the chances are it would just slightly have coloured the water, and you wouldn't see a drop of it at the bottom anymore. That's just diffusion over time. Again, just describing entropy, a slightly delayed effect of it because of your differences in dye versus water. But yeah, you're describing entropy again.
Nathan, it's so simple. Rumpus, if he just gets a balloon, blows it up, ties it up, he's contained gas. If he pops that balloon, where does that gas go? Does it go down?
Well, it's better with just the balloon. Don't even need to pop it. So you fill a balloon up. What Rumpus is saying is the gas inside the balloon will generally go mostly down. So what? You've got a deflated bit at the top of the balloon where there's less pressure because the gas is mostly going down. And you've got a much more inflated bit at the bottom of the balloon because the gas is mostly going down. No, it fills the balloon evenly in all directions. Gas just fills the space. It doesn't go down, go boom, boom. You don't have a deflated balloon on the top because gas is going down like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank. It just fills the space evenly.
It says here gases consist of particles, molecules, or atoms that are in constant random motion. Gas particles are constantly colliding with each other and the walls of their container. These collisions are elastic. That is, there is no net loss of energy from the collisions.
Did you say random directions? So not mostly down, go boom, boom, like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank then, Neil?
Correct.
Yeah. Randomly, high speeds, all directions, not go down, go boom, boom, like Thunderfoot the Clown asserted. Doesn't understand the difference between solid bonded bouncy balls and unbonded gases, which expand in all directions. And if the sky was a vacuum, this black area was claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr by fundies who think they live on a ball flying through a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space. That's what gas does, expands at high speeds in all directions. Oh, right, it's not expanding. Oh, well, then it's not got a space to fill, because it would be filling it. Therefore, the sky is not a vacuum. Shout out to Justin 8... Is it Justin 805? Who's joined as a penguin. Thank you very much. But it's all gone very quiet.
You doing a members only week or something?
Just Friday and just Thursday and Friday. So because they go out, typically the majority of people haven't watched these shows when they go out on the second channel. So yesterday's show goes out Saturday, and then this show goes out on Sunday on the second channel. Well, when that happens, that can be when your average Joe can chat in the chat and chat alongside it, rather than having to monitor two different chats, one that's on screen that's going at a hell for leather rate, and then the one that you're actually chatting in when it's premiering. Well, no, from now on it'll be members only Thursday, Friday, so that the delayed chats which members only get, i.e. the after show from Thursday and the pre-show from Friday, etc., well, they can have them before everyone else, and then 2 days later everyone can watch them and chat when they get re-released with the uncut and after show beginning and after bit. But in the live show, yeah, that'll go on to the screen when it's premiering, and you can actually read it if it's members only. But that'll just be Thursday, Friday, so Monday to Wednesday it'll just be the same usual. Everyone can chat.
Cool.
Shout out to C. Is it CMOG? Welcome to Penguin.
Yeah, Nathan, what's in Discord? Any ballers? Maybe we should ask them to join or go off and let other people come in to talk.
Yeah, there's a few people in there. I'm sure some of them are ballers. Maybe.
No, don't just take up space, boys. Ask a question. Let's have a good debate.
Space, you say?
For the
Yes,
gaps to
I
fill?
said that.
Yeah, there's several gaps now. There's 3 gaps if someone wants to join.
Perfect.
Link is in the info box. If you're watching this live, obviously not. If you aren't watching this live and you want to know how to join, because I often get asked, well, how can I join? It's like, well, this is a rebroadcast of a pre-recorded show, Uncut and After Show, that hasn't gone out live at all. So it's not live and you couldn't join unless it was. But if you're happening to watch this on an Uncut and After Show stream, then you'd have to go to a live stream, and the link's still under there when it's no longer live. So you can still get into the Discord server. There's often people in there chatting away when the shows aren't live. So just so you know, the link's always under the live shows, so they have to have actually been broadcast live for there to be a link under them. Not if that's not obvious to everybody, but maybe it's not. Because I do actually say it, right, on the Uncut and After Show. I'm still saying, if you want to join the stream, click the link below.
Yes.
Confusing for some. Shout out to everyone watching this on Sunday.
Woo!
Did anybody watch Conspiracy Cats' video?
Nope.
Literally nobody. Me neither. Okay, moving on. Okay, I got a load of comments all at once. So I searched my own name in YouTube and saw Conspiracy Cat's thumbnail and could glean from what the people in the comments were saying to me what needed to be addressed. So I just made a quick 2-minute response video, literally without even watching his video. No need. So he didn't even get a view out of me.
That was on the Rayleigh criteria, right?
Diffraction limit. I said things diffract
Yeah.
into the distance. And he's questioned that, from what I can glean, because people are asking me, what did you mean when you said things diffract into the distance? This picture on screen was taken with a camera. Now, the aperture will dictate at what point things disappear. That would be diffract. That's interference. And where is that interference? It's here. We call this point the horizon. It is the most limited angle that you can resolve information through the aperture of the camera. That would be called the diffraction limit, calculable in the Rayleigh criterion. So when I say things diffract into the distance, that is 100% accurate description of the diffraction limit. The diffraction limit being this point of convergence, where things get too small to see. Now, based on the angle being the most limited across the deck, the things at the bottom of any item in this distance will disappear first. For example, if I was to take a brick, which was in the near foreground, an 8-inch brick, and put it out at 1 mile, let's just say this horizon, for the sake of argument, is 1 mile into the distance, we will assume at the distance of 1 mile we can see 1 brick. Now we're going to push the same brick, that 8-inch brick, out to 5 miles. Now at 5 miles, it is beyond the angular resolution limit of the camera, the diffraction limit. So, the 8-inch brick at 5 miles in the distance has disappeared completely. You can no longer see it. The angle is too limited. It has disappeared. Now let's take the same exact example at 5 miles. The brick's out at the distance at the diffraction limit on the horizon, disappeared from view. And we're going to build a 100-foot skyscraper on top of the brick. What do you know? We've got a wider angle to the top of the bricks with the building, but the 8-inch brick at the bottom still vanished because the angle to it is still too limited and it's still beyond the diffraction point. Now the stuff built on top of it can be seen, ergo 8 inches of building has disappeared from bottom up at the most limited angle. Now this effect is succinctly summarised with one word: perspective. And this effect of things disappearing from the bottom up at the most limited angle as they diffract, that would be resolution interference, the point that you can't resolve it anymore. At that point, the globe-believing fundies have got mathematics which call that effect an absolutely real effect you can observe with anything ever, every time you open your eyes or take a picture of anything, because everything's travelling through an aperture with a diffraction limit. They have called this effect Earth curve. Now what they've done to hijack this effect is take this beautiful view and removed all aspects of detail from it by putting it in side profile. So you'll have a little man on the left, and if the sun was the target, you'd have the sun on the right, and you'd have one line between the two things, and the sun would be given a feet and inches value, and it would never change with distance. So in my example with an 8-inch brick in the distance, 5 miles, completely disappeared from view, too small to see, according to that mathematics, you've got your man on the left, you've got your 8-inch brick on the right, and you've got a straight line between them. And it doesn't matter if I write 1,000,000 miles on the line, because the 8-inch brick hasn't changed from being an 8-inch brick, even if I write 1,000,000 miles on the line, effectively removing all aspects of the diffraction limit, i.e. perspective, from Earth curve mathematics. No longer do you need to concern yourself that the 8-inch brick cannot be seen at 1,000,000 miles, because in your diagram side on, with the side of your own head in view, you can see the brick, 8 inches of it, at any distance, removing perspective.
Well, that's just ridiculous the way you explain that. That's ridiculous.
Well, thank you very much. I thought it was quite eloquent and concise.
No, what they're saying, I mean, that's ridiculous to assume that.
Oh, it's ridiculous to assume that an 8-inch brick is 8 inches at 1,000,000 miles. Technically and strictly true, but in reality, we've got diffraction limits based on the aperture of whatever you're looking through. The bigger the aperture, the lower the diffraction limit, ergo the longer you have angular resolution to things in the distance. Wider angle, bigger aperture, those are the things that affect where things disappear. Lower to the deck, limited angle, things disappear quicker. Higher, above the deck, things will be capable of vision because you've got a wider angle to them. This is perspective. And they've called it Earth curve and removed all aspects by putting your side on. That's how they've hijacked what you see. Big massive shout out to Life is Short, one of my Patreons, because if it wasn't for him, I couldn't have given that little speech. That's down to him and him alone. Big shout out to Life is Short. Subscribe today. Check out his presentations.
Well, I can ascribe something to you. Begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. It's marked with an X, labeled horizon based on the R value, debunked by the Black Swan. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Good 1/10.
The horizon's not a physical Earth curve edge obstruction, in spite of that side-on view depicting the horizon as being the tangent point in that mathematics. And the horizon isn't a physical geometric sphere edge. It's a non-tangible, non-physical point in the distance that changes with weather and your angle of view to things that are diffracted based on your aperture of your eye or camera or whatever you're taking a picture with.
So then professional photographers or people that are artists, they should know it's not Earth curve, don't they?
They're the ones that know perspective.
Yeah, they get the inside scoop. So, shouldn't there be more artists coming out with this knowledge?
Baller should take an art class in school to figure it out.
No, but look, guys, those typical people, they might find out through camera work and all that it seems kind of flat. But if they don't have the proper knowledgeable background, they might easily be convinced that they just have to apply circumdicular geometry, and they'd still believe it is a ball, even though everything looks flat all the time. So.
But they can't deny perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They can deny perspective. When this started, Globers were coming in here saying that perspective is something flat Earth was made up.
Yeah, fleur perspective.
Globers.
They used to tell us, fleur perspective, ha ha ha, like it was made up by us.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, Globers can deny perspective, but artists can't because it's in every painting.
Yeah, well, that's why it makes it even funnier when they say, "Oh, you guys made this up." Like, really? So what are all the artists out there doing? What's going on? How did we make this up? It's just how we
Didn't
see,
somebody
man.
make a whole list? Remember, somebody made a whole list of things about perspective of what we say.
Yeah, Tim Osman presented it. I can't remember who made the list initially, but Tim Osman basically had a list. In one column, you've got Earth curve. In the other column, you've got weather, refractive effects, diffraction limits, swells, things like that. All the lists of things that can cause stuff in the distance to disappear at a given point. Now, all of those things are just written off as not Earth curve. Because the only thing in their column, literally the only thing in their column, to claim that things disappear in the distance is Earth curve. That's the only reason things disappear as they get further away from you. And in their maths, as I say, a 10-foot wall is a 10-foot wall, even if it's 1,000,000 miles away. It's never getting smaller. It's always 10 foot. That's how their maths works. It just excludes perspective. So they think on a flat Earth, we should see forever. Because their maths says the Eiffel Tower, its given height, it's just that over there at that height, and you should see it. And unless Earth curve gets in the way, you would see it. It's like, no, it's miles too small.
We need to publish this. We need to get this out.
Well, until the black swan came, right, Nathan? Now, in their orthographic view, it's not disappearing.
Well, in their orthographic view, they've got a marked with an X labelled horizon Earth curve edge that's geometrically obscuring things in the distance. But then when we ask them, in this picture with a horizon, where's the geometric sphere edge? We're told, you can't see the geometric horizon. You wouldn't expect to see geometry. That's what we're told. Bye-bye, Earth curve geometry then. When you say you can't see a geometric sphere edge horizon to get a tangent point, you can't derive R. And the thing you're denying being capable of seeing is Earth curve. When they say you can't see the geometric horizon, that's Earth curve. They're telling you can't see.
Well, then bye-bye orthographic view.
That was a joke already. We exposed that like 3 years ago.
Muppet vision.
Muppet vision. That's correct. Muppet vision because you can see the side of your own head.
Yeah, but when it comes to the black swan, they're going to say refraction instead of realizing their orthographic view doesn't match reality.
These two things are obviously intrinsically linked, but they're not part of the same argument. So the fact that the begging the question part of the argument with the R value is addressed with the black swan, when they beg the question with R, we've debunked their use of R. They can't get it anymore. Well, that debunks the begging the question aspect. Proof of nothing speaks for itself. Perspective hijacking, the next aspect to the detailed description I give that calculator, is this aspect. The perspective hijacking is putting it in orthographic view, removing the fact that things get smaller with distance. That's angular size, or apparent size, as it's also known, versus actual size. A 10-foot wall, you on the left-hand side of the image, I'll just depict it for the audience on this. So you, a little stick man here, 10-foot wall here, line between the two. I'm going to write 1 billion miles on the two. Well, does that mean that you can't have a line between the two? No. Well, when you then curve that line, you'd say that the billion miles isn't the cause of the thing not being capable of being seen. It's the Earth curve obstruction that's got in the way. Because they've taken the effect of perspective, things getting too small to see in the distance, as they reach the diffraction limit, and called that Earth curve.
Until the black swan.
Until the black swan. 2020, 1st Jan. Discord is surprisingly quiet today.
Well, Rumpus had a good go. At least.
I can't remember who I was discussing this with the other day, but it's more fun to try and figure out the motivation rather than the argument. The arguments have all been pummeled, right? So Rumpus is never going to win on that score. Gas go down, boom, 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 like bouncy balls now. Right, but what's his motivation? Why that particular thing to address today? There's got to be a reason. There typically is.
I don't know. I think it has to do just with the sheer amount of consequences of keeping their model in that fashion, ignoring natural law. Well, the problem with natural law is it's integrated in absolutely everything. So if they want to keep that disconnected, then they have to convolute it wherever it touches, basically. So yeah, bouncy balls, Earth, what is it again? The gradient, all kinds of ways, and just keep reasserting that to kind of give enough confusion out in order to keep it convincing that it might actually be a possibility. That's what I think they're doing.
His motivation, in my opinion, is to actually come on the show and have a lucky day where he thinks he can actually win an argument against the flat earth debate questions. And he hasn't done it from beginning to now. So he keeps coming back to get lucky, but he ain't going to get lucky.
No, he chance. Rumpish chance.
Yeah. Gas isn't like air. Well, if we drop a bouncy ball off a building, he's got his direction that he's going to travel in. Any objections that come up along the way will be completely ignored or rumpused, talked through, obfuscated, and then he'll carry on with the exact same, what do you want to call it, freight train path that he's on. There is no deviation from the path he's on. He's going to be asserting gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls. And he's going to make his example. And when I give him an opportunity, he's like, well, if you can just make my example. So I'm clear the airwaves for him. And the first thing he does is say, when you drop a bouncy ball, it just doesn't matter what I've objected to it with. It doesn't matter that he's even conceded and agreed that gas is unbonded, bouncy balls are bonded, they're not comparable. He'll just tell you straight afterwards, after agreeing, how they are comparable. Because he's going to be telling you gas go down, go boom, boom. When it doesn't.
He doesn't even get that when he says refraction, he's already admitted that he believes in flat earth.
Yeah, he's already essentially admitting that you can't see Earth curve. Oh, it's refracted.
He doesn't even get that.
No, several people on the panel did welcome him to flat Earth with his opening gambit. I think it was Chocolate. Or Neil.
I called him the antecedent for an argument.
Say again, Flatsoid? Oh, it's 10th. Sorry, say again, 10th.
No, I said, when he came on, I said, oh, here's the necessary antecedent for an argument.
Yeah, right.
I just see, you know how like any lawyer will have a number of cases they might be working on at the same time. I just see as today's case was Mr. Greasy Lawyer came in to defend the bouncy ball case of Thunderclown, whatever his name is. Right? That's today's case. Tomorrow's case might be back to the reference phrase with Simon and you're misrepresenting his argument. Right? You know? I just see him as like a little greasy lawyer who's just going around trying to clean up everybody's crap, including his own.
Oh, I see. So it's like the Family Globe, and every time someone like Dan or Thunderfoot cocks up, he turns up and has to clear up the mess afterwards, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, pretty much.
I see. He's the Family Globe lawyer. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in live, joined as a member, smash the super chat commented, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Care about Nathan asked me if you would come on my platform and have a debate with him, Mr. Jones, 1975, because he didn't think it would be fair enough to come on your platform. I promised him I would ask.
Oh, well, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. It wouldn't be fair if he came here because he'd get absolutely annihilated.
Yeah, that's kind of what I told him.
They see that as unfair. Which is fair enough, I suppose. Nobody likes losing. And in order to win, they need some way of employing their tactics. That's it. They can't get an actual win with the debating subjects, but they can get a perceived win or an ad hominem win. And they'll take that every time. You know, like yesterday with Ed. So what's the actual modus operandi? Well, he's come in to take something from about 3 years ago, back before we even contemplated the idea of the calculator hijacking perspective. We were debating about how the calculator describes an observation of a lighthouse in the Isle of Man and Anthony's observation of it in the dark with it flashing away 34 miles away from the beach, or from the car park just above the beach. And that discussion, they'll take me saying as the, devil's advocate to Anthony's claimed flat earth position. His flat earth position is you can't see this on a globe. It's flat to be able to see the light. And I'm saying, no, the globe would be projected out to this distance, therefore a perfect globe proof. In other words, I'm playing the glober in contradiction to his claim to try and dissuade him from actually using it at all. I thought it was useless. It still hasn't been published because it's one dot on a black screen. That's what he's got on the camera. So, to me, it's just useless. But nevertheless, obviously, to be able to win these debates, Arwin, for example, has to be able to put a globe Earth opinion across and convincingly argue for it in order to be able to argue against it. That's how good debating tactics work. Know your own opponent's argument as well, if not better than they do.
Right. I think traditionally it's a saying from Sang Tzu, keep your friends closer, but your enemies closer.
Or never ask a question you don't...
Enemies closer.
That's the Godfather part.
Oh, was it?
It's the Godfather,
I think he got it from him. Like, that guy said everything. Ever.
Yeah, every Godfather does have
It was part 2, I'm sorry.
You're not wrong. The Godfather does have a response to basically everything, doesn't it? There's a one-liner in one of the Godfathers that will be applicable almost everywhere. You know what I mean?
I actually meant Sun Tzu, but maybe the Godfather too.
Godfather part 2, yes, when he was speaking to Frank Pantangeli.
The art of war.
Close, keep your enemies closer. That's right. But in this instance, it's don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. In other words, you've got to know their position if you're asking them about how you can have gas pressure without a container. Not, well, in your model, could you have gas pressure without a container? If you don't actually know the answer to that question, they say, well, of course you can. Got atmospheric pressure. Where are you going to go if you don't know their argument? Well, nowhere. You're going to get defeated because they're just going to assert that, look at the sky, and there it is. It's a vacuum. I assert it as so. Look, there's lights in it. That a gas is not expanding into a vacuum. Therefore, obviously, we can have a sky vacuum. I've just told you it is. Now, if you don't appreciate that that's a violation of natural law, i.e. you understand how they explain their position with a sky vacuum and gas is not expanding into it, if you're unaware of their argument, how can you defeat it? But I'll be taking that position in some screenshot from 3 years ago before we realised hijacking of perspective has occurred. They'll dig it out and present it. It's like, yeah, there's going to be positions that I took 3 years ago in debate that I wouldn't take now. That's how debate progresses. That's how arguments progress. And where are we now? Oh, that's right. With a very silent ball crowd not coming in because they know what will happen. They won't win. They'll have their asses handed to them, their arguments taken to pieces, their fundamentalist religious viewpoint they're on a sphere taken apart as the religious belief it is. So that's where we're at now. But yeah, you harp on how I was wrong 3 years ago, or how I used to buy into your arguments 3 years ago, and how much easier it would be if I was still reifying a sphere edge and mathematics that hijack perspective when talking about how much we should or shouldn't see of a lighthouse based on curve maths. Yeah, you do that. That's a win for about 15 seconds of adrenaline or whatever drug that it is that you release in that particular moment of euphoria when you feel like you've got a win.
Endorphin.
Stay with the old and bust.
What was the? Say again. That was right.
But, yeah, Nathan, the contrast,
Dopamine.
when you really look back, it's so staggering. The contrast of like flat Earth debate the first half year alone with now. It's completely the reversed world. Like, we could barely get a word in between the ballers back then. And now, yeah, we really have to like lure them in. Like, come on, little baller, come on.
Well, now I have to fight the flat earthers off the globers while it's like, come on, guys, we're trying to pummel him. Let's keep it under control.
Yeah, things done changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flat earthers have become savage. You know, this morning in the pre-show, I had Neil telling us all about how he's out in NASA chat rooms going, yeah, the space that you claim's all fake. He's got the balls on him to do it.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Well, to be fair, though, this last 5 years, a lot of people have a lot of the fear and the shame that was conditioned with flat Earth every step of the way, or most of our lives, up until that point, has kind of like roughly faded. So I think that there were always more people that had an interest or a curiosity or doubts about the globe, but they would keep silent. But yeah, the internet would always draw you a little bit further than you would normally go in a face-to-face situation. And now every time I do go to like a NASA video or even a spin doctor blah, blah, blah video about whatever astrophysics, there's almost always some kind of flat earther somewhere saying something sensible. And that's a big contrast to like 5 years ago.
Right, I'm gonna jump in the after show. If you're in the live show, just follow me in. You guys hear me in the after show? Because I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, great.
He's talking to the Discord panel.
I don't think anybody's talking.
They can move themselves over, Very easy.
Nobody's talking in there. So I don't know if it's working or not. We'll find out soon enough, I'm sure.
You're coming through clear. Nobody's talking.
Thank you very much, Maris.
You got it.
Wake up, ballers. Come on, join the argument. What do you got? Give me some proof to go back on the ball.
Do you think I should trim out the bit from a week ago with the cum virus?
Absolutely.
Been contemplating it for a solid week.
I think you ought to.
But it was over 2 shows. It was over 2 shows with a gap in between. It'd be a lot of work.
Your summary on diffraction today, towards the end of the live show, is awesome.
That was great. That was great.
As I say, motivated by a shed load of commenters all at once who've been good little doggies because they've been instructed by conspiracy cats to come and ask me what I meant by things diffract into the distance. Yeah, okay, so that's how you suddenly start focusing your mind, right?
Oh, that's why I was seeing that question in chat yesterday?
No, I don't think so, because it came out after the show. Well, although it seemed that way when I searched my own name to find that video. In any event, diffraction limits, I'm glad they've come up recently. I could kiss conspiracy cats. Thank you very much. People have had enough of reference frames being ruined by Scientism. I've heard that voiced verbally a couple of times now. And who can blame people? You don't want to hear the same thing for weeks on end. It'll come back up, just like Thunderfoot did today, right? Scientism will not be forgotten.
No, they take their course. They're hot for a little while. They go away, then they come back. It's with all the housekeeping questions, pretty much.
Yeah, but it's nice that they've been, you've got some attribution to each of these questions. So in the case of gas go down, go boom, boom, obviously that's never going to go away. Your reference frames have been ruined. That's never going to go away.
George Musser, never going to go away.
Exactly. They just get dropped every so often. I mean, Musa is now it's just part of the language, isn't it? It's not like we bring up specifically what he said and how he said it. It just gets thrown in as a quote that's just so well known now. Well, no, gravity's not a force. George Musa.
And what did Brian Cox say about gravity?
Not really a force at all. Brian Cox.
Wow, he doubled down with George Musser.
Pseudo force space being bent. That's what they're talking about. I think you need to concern yourself with in reality, because it's not. Yeah, give it a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and someone will come along and say, Earth and atmosphere are travelling together. We wouldn't expect to see any drift.
That is the silliest statement, because all you got to do is look up on a day when there's multiple wind directions and clouds going against each other. You can debunk that with your eyes.
Yeah, Flatsword released a video of exactly that. So, Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, showing Simon Dunn's video and describing how these things aren't drifting. And you're like, so no drift then?
They got to get their act together.
Well, they're trying to invoke the old magic trick of convincing us that we need to know their argument of their Earth that spins underneath at 15 degrees an hour, causing things to drift away from us, when they say that things don't drift apart. Don't you understand our bullshit? That's what they're saying. It's like, no, that magic trick's broken. Don't you realise Simon Dan broke it? You and your reference frames have been ruined. Asserting that you've got one reference frame and the trampolining guy isn't drifting apart is to assert that you don't have things drifting apart at 15 degrees an hour. It is just that simple. Thanks, Simon Dan. You've made it nice and concise. The argument's clear now. You're supposed to have drift. That's things drifting apart. And you haven't. Really simple. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, when you put it in words like that, like I told a guy when he said there's Coriolis, Earth-based that is, because he was still under the spell, still is. I said, well, are you talking about Earth-based Coriolis, like the Earth is turning? And we were talking about guns. And he was saying, yeah, the snipers have to adjust for Coriolis. I said, okay, well, based on what? The Earth turning? He says, of course. I said, so how fast is the Earth turning? And I helped him out there a little bit. And I said, 1,550 feet per second. So there's a sniper that takes a 1 second shot from his target, aim 1,550 feet right of his target, waiting for west to come to it. Does he take his scope off the target and assume where it's going to be 1 second later? Blank stare.
Buzzwords. People have heard Coriolis effect, and they think they're being smart when they assert it to you, not really understanding what it is. In the case of an Earth that's claimed to be turning, it's Earth turning underneath stuff not attached, in this example a sniper's bullet, at 15 degrees an hour that needs compensating for. So the bullet leaves a turning Earth, and it drifts away from where it's supposed to be at 15 degrees an hour. That's what's supposed to happen. But as 10th Man's just pointing out, you've then got a ludicrous speed of Earth turning underneath stuff not attached, and we don't observe that happening. No one's leading a target by 1,500 feet in your example. It's absurd. Earth's not turning underneath anything.
Like, Coriolis, you say? And then they don't know what to say after you give them the answer. I can imagine that poor guy's blank stare.
Yeah, he didn't know where to go because he's not a trench level fundy. And I said, look, that proves the Earth is not spinning.
Hey, QE. Try that again. Hey, QE. Good to see you.
Try it in a higher tone.
Maybe he's eating breakfast.
He's probably just here for his desk.
I hope he ate it already, otherwise he'll be grumpy.
I finished putting
It's been a good. It's been a good week for Flat Earth as always. Towards Friday, we blow loose and happy that the whole week, the 8 or 9 housekeeping questions. I know you condensed it. There used to be 10 at one time, but they've gone unanswered again. The Globers are still batting zero, and they come in with the same lame arguments that get debunked immediately because they beg the question from the get-go.
It's a good summary.
It's reality. That's what happens every week. I'm waiting for one of them to just hang in there and go toe-to-toe with us for 5 minutes without ad homs, begging the question, assuming the outcome, all that stuff that relates to that, and just talk. But they can't talk.
For that to happen, you'd have to have truth. And they don't have truth. They don't have reality. So basically, it's never going to happen.
It seems that way, Neil.
Did you see my pictures in Master B?
I did. I saw your diffusers, everything. Looked cool.
So that diffuser was given to me for free. FOC from GIK Acoustics. FOC from GIK. So I spent every single time I contacted them to order anything. I'm like, I'm a YouTuber, right? Any chance of something for free? And eventually, after a lot of e-begging, I eventually got a free diffuser out of them. And I just lined it up today, got it all lined up in an array so they're all right next to each other, so there's no gaps. And it looks ace.
When I train salespeople, I say, you have not because you asked not.
And they're working too. So I actually use your voice 10th. Not that you need to concern yourself with this particularly, but you're like my benchmark, if you will, for how an average person on the panel would sound. I would describe your mic, your sound, as distinctly average. That's how most people sound. Roughly, there's that volume. It might be more, it might be less, but you're average. So I go on what you sound like in terms of whether or not it's clearer or not. And throughout the show, much, much clearer. I couldn't be more pleased.
I'm just an average guy, taking down the globe lie.
Yeah, but it's critical that I can actually hear what's being said.
Of course.
Obviously,
no, you've got the finesse of a finer. How can I say? You would notice the taste of caviar being different if that was your YouTube channel. You're into high tech stuff and you want the best, so you have the best show possible.
So on Broadway theaters, they use Steely Dan to check their sound. So you're Nathan's Steely Dan. How do you like that?
Steely Dan's exceptionally well produced, though, so I can understand why people would use that to test their equipment because it's really well produced.
Yeah, very clean sound. I always hear Steely Dan whenever they're getting ready to set up the sound for the show. And I asked the guy. He gave me a whole bunch of technical things that I didn't understand that you probably would have understood. But then he finally said, they're very clean sound. You can hear everything with them. And, good.
Can't remember the name of the studio where that was recorded, but one of the videos that I watched about treating this room did actually take place in that studio where Steely Dan recorded. At least
Really?
recorded Asia. That album was recorded in one of the... I'll have to look it up, but in terms of the way that studio was treated, that's probably very similar to how I've treated this room. In other words, live end, dead end, reflection-free zone, things like that. All of that's applicable to that studio where that was mastered.
Freaking great album.
Yeah, it's all right. It's pop music, I suppose, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're all clearer. That's the main reason. So I can hear what's being said clearer. So even if somebody's particularly distorted on a poor quality microphone, I still need to be able to make out what they're actually saying. So the cleaner the room is, the more clearer I can hear what's being said. And the inverse of that is I'm clearer. So when I'm speaking, I can be heard better. My diction and whatever they call it, timbre, that's all clearer for the audience, which is good. I'm nearly finished. I keep saying that.
When is your apps going to get ready?
See, that's kind of a good and a bad. So that particular amp I don't use for the show. So the amp there's two that's in repair, and one of them runs my rear speakers for the surround system, and the other runs the center speaker and the subwoofer. And none of them are important to me really, because I don't really care about the movies. My wife and kids do. So what I've got to deal with is I'm not chasing the guy to fix them, although I have, because my wife's constantly saying, when can I watch Sonic? And I do actually want to watch Ford versus Ferrari. But really, I can take it or leave it. So without having those pieces of equipment, it doesn't affect the show. So I'm not that fussed by it. And I can still listen to music. So I'm happy. But the wife's deeply, deeply upset now. It's getting dark quickly and there's nothing to do. There's like no movies to watch. But they'll come back soon enough. He contacted me at the beginning of the week and was like, I've been really ill. But yeah, he was back on it on Tuesday or Wednesday this week, I think.
Speaking of Ford versus Ferrari, I watched something yesterday. It was really cool. It was Formula One racing pit stop documentary. I don't know if you've seen any of those, but it gave the history of how they had it, didn't have it, went back to it, and then the fires and the other safety measures, everything they took. And the Red Bull racing team has set a record, and then somebody broke it, and then they set another record. I think it was 1.89 seconds. They came in and they showed it, and it's like 23 people involved in the pit lane when the Formula One car comes in, and it's like beautiful to watch how they do that.
I love watching those. The time pit lane changes. And I remember back when the fire you're talking about is Benetton, because they removed the filter from the fueling process. So they have this massive hose that comes in from above, and they drop it on the car during that process while all the wheels are being changed, or tyres, whatever you want to call it. And they just pop it on. There's this big mechanism that they clamp it down, and then it at a rapid rate fills the car with fuel. But what was slowing the fuel down was this filter between the two mechanisms. And Benetton just removed it to get the fuel in quicker, and it all sprayed out everywhere on the car and just burst into flames. It was very, very dramatic.
Yeah, that guy was there live on this documentary, and the guy who was in the fire in the car also was live. They talked about it, and then at the end, he said to the guy interviewing him that they realized they needed to put the filter back in because it was dumping 30 gallons of fuel in that less than 2 seconds or whatever it was, and it didn't have the filter, so the gas cap to the car was not suited without the filter, so it just popped out of there like a burst.
Yeah, all to gain.
It happens in the beginning in Ford versus Ferrari. Not during the movie.
I missed that, Neil. Say that again.
That actually happens right in the beginning of Ford versus Ferrari. There's a scene like that.
Oh, with a car bursting into flames as they refuel it.
Yeah, he goes on fire and everything too. Really cool. You got to see it.
Yeah, it's just because everything's so hot. When they're doing that, everything's like super, super, super hot. So it doesn't take much fuel to get near anything, like the exhaust especially. It just instantly bursts into flames. Well, this is a fairly typical Friday afternoon conversation, eh? Totally off topic.
I don't mind it. Forget the ballers. We're having fun. This
I was
is
going to
good
say,
talk
I'm quite
between
enjoying
Come on, it's not fun without ballers getting hammered.
They got hammered all week. They need a respite. I thought my rectilinear pun was good.
Very good.
I'm going on a NASA channel, and I'm going to invite people to Nathan Oakley 1980.
There you go.
Be a whole
Tell
load
them
of
there's
people.
space here to be filled.
There'll be a whole load of people subscribing to Fanny Lancer as well, won't there? Searching Gay Watch.
Don't go there, please.
Speaking of that, they hijacked a beautiful word that means happy.
Rectilineator doesn't mean happy.
And
It
with
depends
that,
on who you are.
and with that,
Hey, Nathan, can I butt in real quick?
Nobody was talking. You're not butting in at all. Go ahead.
no, that was a pun.
Butt in.
Oh, bum bum. That was a pun also.
Boom, boom. That was a good one. Ouch, ouch.
Was that actually a pun, or did you want to actually ask something?
It could have been a cheeky comet.
Is there anybody in Discord? What's going on here?
Oh, too much, man.
There is. I can't remember. I think it's Jason McCormack. He's a regular subscriber and he's like overtly concave. But other than him, does anybody have any awareness of any concavers still on the scene? There was loads of them in 2015.
I've never really studied or looked into the concave claim whatsoever, so I have no idea.
Me either. Me either. That's
Basically,
that Middle Earth thing too.
The Middle Earth
You
thing
heard that?
is a bird claim, isn't it? Hollow Earth as opposed to concave Earth. It's different. It's not the same.
There is a Middle Earth though, right? I did hear that.
You're thinking of New
Hey,
Zealand?
everybody.
Thinking of the Hobbit. Hey, how you doing, Brian?
The Middle Earth is not, they're not talking about, that was a confusion because of globe belief. Middle Earth is a legend about the middle, the center. To be like Mount Meru and the magnetic center and the polar sea. That's where the Middle Earth legend comes from. It's not about inside the globe. That was just a globe nonsense. They just didn't understand it because they were thinking of it in the terms of a globe. It's actually a legend about the center of the Earth, like the North Pole region or whatever.
So the middle of the surface rather than the middle of a sphere.
Yeah, inner Earth, Middle Earth. It's the inside, the middle.
If you want to see that, if you're watching this and you want to see where can I find information out about these old maps and these old layouts of old worlds, go to Martin Liedtke, Liedtke. That's Martin Liedtke, is how you say it, Welsh guy, and he covers this stuff in detail quite frequently. So back in the day, when he was more into flat Earth, that was specifically what he did. Mappy Martin, covering maps. Again, a bit like Life is Short, exposing all the information to me, all of his excellent research, and he's now more into covering ancient history and the fabrications and deceptions, old tech that might not exist anymore, things like that. But just check him out, Martin's ace.
Didn't somebody steal his channel or something? Is that the same guy I'm thinking of?
Yeah, he's built it back up to the same level now, so he's over 20,000 subs. But yeah, when he was at maybe a little bit more, 21,000 subs, somebody just hijacked his channel by convincing him that he needed to give up his password, that they were YouTube. Just got duped, basically. A very unfortunate scenario, and I'm not going to pour scorn on Martin for falling victim to a scam, but just that's what happened. He got screwed. But then he started a new channel, built it back up. It's probably been when was probably been 18 months to build himself back up to where he was.
That sucks.
It does, and it doesn't. It shows you how he's got a good audience. You know, that they've come back to him. They've found their way to him again. So he's built himself back up to the place he was.
Yeah, but that somebody could just do something like that. They don't have no protections for that.
Well, yeah, I think a few people fell victim to it, and since then they've introduced 2 layers of verification to get into your account now. So if you haven't done this already and you're a YouTuber and you actually produce material, just to go through the process. YouTube will talk you through it. I can't tell you where to go to do it, but to add 2-step verification to your account isn't that difficult. And that basically, that would stop that happening. Get a text message, basically. And you'd go, do I want to change my password? No, I don't.
Can I get a mic check real quick?
Hey, Chocolate.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah, my internet was being crazy before, so I was in and out. Sorry about that.
It didn't cause a problem. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm serious, Nathan. That summary you did on diffraction towards the end of today's show, put that out as a separate piece. I think that was one of your best.
Towards the end of the live show?
Yeah. Yeah, you just, I know when you do it because I've been on long enough to know your style, and everything changes when you get in that mode of yours. It's like secondhand to you, but it comes flowing out in such a beautiful way that, well, go listen to it. You'll hear what I heard. It's just one of your best
see the whole
summaries.
thing in your mind.
Yeah, you just painted pictures and
Yes.
and no delay, no stuttering, no searching for words. It's just a beautiful summary of that topic.
Speaking of stuttering, we had a little stutterer today again, huh?
Yeah, I love it. That's happening more and more now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Because he's trying to get out bullshit. So he starts to stutter. It's perfect. And you don't miss it.
But it's subtle. I do it all the time. I stumble over words, but there's a big difference between stuttering because you've got a bit of a cognitive problem you're trying to overcome whilst talking, and not being able to pronounce a word on the fly just because you can't get your mouth around it. There's a difference, and there's a distinction. And you can hear it in the tone of what they're saying and the urgency of what they're saying and how they're saying it. But there is a distinct difference. You know, it's not like I don't stutter over words occasionally. Everybody does.
Oh, I used to stutter a lot in my younger days. I was nervous and I would stutter. But when it came to something I owned, I never stuttered.
I don't even like public speaking. I'm not even sure why I'm here, to be honest with you.
I'm not even sure why I'm here.
Well, hold on a second. Public speaking is more feared than death. I'm not kidding about that. Check it out. People fear public speaking more than death.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that survey too, Neil, a long time ago. I remember I had to speak in front of us. I was a salesman at the time, and they wanted me to speak in front of the other salesmen who were my pals, and to tell them what I did to score so many sales that month. And I said, well, just go look at the board. I'm not going to talk. I don't like talking in front of people. And, you know, obviously I can weasel out of it. So, man, I stuttered and I got white foam coming out of my lips. It was the hardest thing. But, you know, after doing it a few times, it got a lot easier. You just have to go through it.
Well, my trick was the first time I spoke at a church, the pastor told me, he said, listen, just be yourself. And just because I was sharing on, 9/11, the things that were going on at the time. Because I was nervous. I never spoke in a church with a microphone hooked up to me. And 500 people. Are you kidding me? But he said, just be yourself and just talk to me the way you talk to me on the phone. And it went well.
So you were doing So you were Euclidean me back then.
Euclidean me? Yeah, in Texas with my Brooklyn accent. Imagine how that went over.
Lovely. Was Rocco there?
No, Rocco wasn't there. But they did ask me to say coffee about 100 times.
Oh.
Coffee.
I like ask me instead of ask me.
Yeah, ask me a question.
That's something that Caribbean guys, the black guys around here do. Or I say around here, when I lived in Birmingham and there was a lot more black people, they'd say ax me this. Kind of I think it was a Jamaican thing.
It's definitely East Coast in the States.
Yeah, it's supposed to be ask, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Ask you a question.
Ask
That's
you
it.
a question. Indubitably.
I love it. I love the differences in language.
I want to know how it happened.
Yeah, I was watching a British comedian the other day. He comes on stage, and it's an American set. He says, "You guys might find this accent difficult to place. It's educated."
No.
Yeah, the Queen's English, the King's English.
Educated is an accent, though.
Just a joke.
Awesome.
Well, I thought when I was going to Times Square Church, I thought all these guys were a bunch of fags. It turned out they were just all well educated, and they spoke well.
Fag means something different for us. Fag here
Cigarette.
is a
Cigarette.
cigarette. Fag
Yeah, I
for you
know.
is a homosexual, correct?
Yes, a bunch of
Imagine
queers.
the horror when my friend Zach, who is a foreign exchange student from America, came over and I said, "Can I bum a fag?" And he went, "What?"
What? You ain't clipping shit.
Oh, go on.
Well, the Latin word is educare, and El Duce, obviously the leader, the Italian guy, the fascist, El Duce, the leader. It comes from educare, and that's where we get education from.
Did not know that.
Them Italians, boy.
Although
I
we
love
have
the
said that,
Italians.
haven't we? That's something that's come up before, mainly because of Jaron exposing this, or at least he was the first person to highlight it to me, that the Jesuit education system is the heliocentric system. That's its origins. You know, later on we've had QE explain who and how and what the stories were and when they came out. But until Jaron actually pointed out that his education in a very, very devout religious setting was heliocentric by nature. It was exactly the same stuff we all got taught. And why? Because it's come from them. That's why.
Yep. And then Johnny Cerrucci also lent credibility to that.
Yeah, he just did a more, again, very, very accurate way of documenting the history, the recorded history. Got to be careful what I say.
Yeah, but at first the Roman Catholic Church was against the whole heliocentric shit that was coming out back then, weren't they?
Reported against, but there's factions. Well, I mean, things go through an evolution, not the kind that the Globers talk, but there were, look, it was Catholic priests who started the Reformation and said the Catholic teaching is wrong. So there were groups within the Catholic Church as it started going. I mean, they didn't even start Mary worship until 1300 years afterwards. So you see, all this crap kept coming later and later, and it just proves the Jesuits were getting more control and more control.
Yeah, it's a very easy religion, Catholicism. I remember I used to do whatever I wanted all week and go to confession on Sunday and get 5 Our Fathers and 10 Hail Marys, and I was good to go. Let's rob the candy store again.
Yeah, it's the laziest religion there is.
Exactly. That's why there's so many people there. Because you don't have to teach.
They
don't
had
have to
some ethics. Listen, they had some ethics because during science class, we had to come up with something, and we made like an electric chair, and we put a mouse in there, with a 9-volt battery. It was about capital punishment. Yeah. So
put a mouse in there.
Yeah, we had a mouse in there and everything. We were getting ready to fry him. And then Num was like, "No, stop the proceedings."
My goodness.
You want a joke?
Yeah, my other friend made a guillotine.
A joke? Choir boy Jimmy goes into confession, and the priest says to him, "What are your sins?" And Jimmy says, "I've been very loose and naughty, or I've been fornicating with a young lady." And the priest says, "Oh, who was it? Tell me who was it?" He says, "Oh, Father, I can't tell you." He goes, "Was it Jane?" He goes, "No, Father, I can't tell you. Honestly, Father, I can't tell you who it was. I'm sworn to secrecy." He goes, "Was it Mary?" He says, "Look, Father, I can't tell you who it is." He says, "It was Betty, wasn't it? It was Betty. Tell me who it was, son." He says, "Father, I can't tell you who it is." He says, "Fine. For a whole month, you can't be a choir boy anymore. Now get out." Little Jimmy goes outside, speaks to his mates, and he says, "What did you get?" He says, 3 good leads and a month off."
Terrible.
Oh, God, I was drinking water. Betty, Mary, who was the other one?
I can't remember. I made it up on the spot.
Jane, Betty, and Mary. 3 good leads and a month off.
See, this is what they do. The religions come, which is altered by men rather than the words of Christ in the Bible, and they use part of it to get people in because this church teaches about God, and they go there, and then you see all the doctrines of men rather than what the Bible teaches. So, they're not told to read the Bible. The Catholic, I went to the Catholic priest, and he says, "No, you're not supposed to read the Bible. Only we are, because you'll make mistakes." He's just projecting because they're the ones who've changed it, and they don't want you to know what they've changed. So it's like a glober. It's ridiculous.
At the school, they gave you that good news book with all the little stick figure pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And basically just the New Testament watered down to unnoticeable.
Well, they're using a person's desire to know God and tricking them within the religious system they've set up. And then they put on all these parameters that you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. And even if you do that, you might end up in purgatory, which the Bible never teaches exists. And then maybe some of your relatives will pray for you out of purgatory. So they're going to do the same thing you're going to do with this merited favor that they got extra of because they were so good compared to you. It'll be applied to you. And maybe one day you'll get out of purgatory. It's nonsense.
Yeah, then your sainthood comes like 500 years after you die, so nobody can find any dirt on you. But
spoken like a true mafia boss.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.